Before this video gets started, I want to give a quick shout out to Clothes by Graham. They're a clothing company that really prides themselves on making premium essentials at everyday prices. This hoodie right here is from their company, and I have to say it is one of my favorite hoodies in my entire collection. If you've watched my videos, you've both seen me wear this hoodie a lot in the recent videos, and you see me wear hoodies all the time. So to say that this has become one of my favorite hoodies this fast after only having it for like a 4 or 5-ish days is really high praise. It's super durable, it's really comfortable. There's a lot of room for me to move around, and I hate being constricted, especially when I'm trying to make videos, and it's just really comfortable. That's really all I can say about it. It comes in all different colors. This one is bone. I've been really looking for a white or kind of like cream-ish type hoodie, and that's exactly what this is. So it exactly fit with what I was looking for. They've got shirts, they've got all different colors. It's just a really great store, and so I'm going to drop a link below in the description if you want to go check out their clothing store. If you use my code CONE on the store at checkout, you will get 15% off. So yeah, go ahead and do that. Like I said, it's pretty cheap for very, very comfortable and durable clothing, and I really want to appreciate them for shipping me this hoodie and giving me the opportunity to share it with you guys. So yeah, go check that out, and we'll go ahead and get into the video. Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cohen back again today with another video. Back with a video that I'm very, very excited to show you guys. As we're about at the unofficial midpoint of the NBA season with all the All-Star festivities wrapping up, I thought it'd be pretty cool to look forward to the second half of the season. And the way I want to start that off is by giving out my mid-season NBA awards. Now, this is not saying who I think is going to win at the end of the fully complete season. This is if right now the awards are all up to me. So this is not at all like, oh, I think the voters are going to vote this way. I think they'll vote this way. This is me. This is all my opinions right here, who I would give the awards to right now if the season ended today. And with it being all my opinions, you have to keep in mind that you might disagree with some of these. And don't get mad at me about that. It's perfectly fine that we disagree with stuff. And you might disagree with one, you might disagree with all of them. That's completely okay. If you do disagree, or even if you just want to tell me who you think should win the awards, go ahead and leave a comment below. Tell me who you think should win each of these awards. We've got Sixth Man of the Year, Most Improved Player, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, Executive of the Year, MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year. The 7 awards I'm going to be giving out in today's video. I'm not doing all NBA or all defensive team. I might do that in a later video, but for right now, we're just focusing on like the major awards that one person wins. So let me know what you think about all these awards. Predict who maybe you think I'm going to give the awards to. I feel like some of them are very hotly contested. Some of the awards are just absolute runaways, and we'll talk about both of those in this video. But I'm excited to share this with you guys. So drop a comment below, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and we will just go ahead and get right into it. Now, as I just said before, some of these awards are going to be runaways. Some of them are going to be hotly contested. And our first award we're going to be talking about is Sixth Man of the Year. And this, in my opinion, is a complete runaway. As I go through these awards, I'll give you my winners and then a couple runner-ups. But for this one, by far and away, the winner is Jordan Clarkson. I don't think it's even close. He's the runaway favorite right now. He's averaging almost 18 points per game with 17.9, shooting about 44.7% from the field, 37% from three, 96.7% from the free throw line, so he just does not miss. The Jazz are the 1 seed. He's a go-to guy that can get them a bucket whenever they need. A player that any team would like to have. They got him for pretty cheap, too. It's kind of a steal. They got him for Dante Exum in a second from the Cavaliers. Great trade for them. He's been at some points their best player on certain nights. He just goes and gets you buckets. Anytime you need a bucket, Jordan Clarkson's going to get you that. He's unstoppable offensively sometimes. He's not really that much of a playmaker. He's a decent rebounder. But what he does is gets buckets. And historically, that is who the Sixth Man of the Year award goes to. And even if he was averaging like a couple less points per game, I still think he's the favorite. I don't see this one getting even close. I think that Clarkson's going to end up winning unanimously. And right now, I don't think that anyone competes with him. A few guys I could talk about that are runner-ups. We could talk about Terrence Ross. He's been a very solid 3-and-D player, like he has been his whole career. But he's having a really good season. I wouldn't be surprised if he got dealt by the Magic and they tried to capitalize on his value, though. Thaddeus Young, he's having a sneaky good season for the Bulls, a really sneaky pickup by them, averaging about 12 points per game, 4.4 assists, 5.9 rebounds, some solid defense, and just overall pretty good leadership on a Bulls team that's trying to make a playoff push. And then finally, we could talk about Montrezl Harrell, the reigning Sixth Man of the Year, even though Dennis Schroeder should have won. He's putting together a really effective season, another one similarly to last year. As a bench player, it's just his production's a little bit down due to being on a really, really good team. Not that the Clippers weren't last season, but there just weren't as many options on that Clippers team as there are this year. He's not being relied on as much. Even so, he's having a pretty good season, averaging around 13 points per game. I just don't think he's going to end up winning this award. Like I said, this is Jordan Clarkson's award to lose. It would take a historic level fall off for him to not end up securing this award at the end of the season. The second award we're going to give out is one that is more hotly contested. Like I said, not all of them are complete runaways, and this is one that I think is really close, and that is the Most Improved Player award. Now, I think that probably the two frontrunners right now are Jeremy Grant and Christian Wood. Those are probably the two guys that are leading right now. But for me, I'm going to give the award to Jeremy Grant. He's gone from 12 points per game to 23.4, an incredible, almost doubling his points per game jump. He went to the Pistons to become the man, and he has absolutely done so. He was kind of in all-star considerations. His team is just too bad. That team is missing a lot of talent. They've got solid guys like Plumlee. They've got him, obviously. Killian Hayes, their first-round pick, or their early first-round pick. Unfortunately, he's out for most of the season, if not the whole season, with an injury. They're just kind of beat up right now. They don't really have the talent to compete in the East or the Western Conference as the second worst team. I think they're ahead of the Timberwolves right now. The Timberwolves are kind of a mess. But despite that, Jeremy Grant has been one of their lone bright spots outside of like decent rookie play. He's been the best player by far on this team. He's kind of carried them to a lot of their wins, and I'm super happy for him as a former Thunder player. He bet on himself, and it's paying off like crazy. Got that big contract, and now he's doing exactly what he thought he would. He's balling out. Christian Wood, like I said, is probably my second place guy. Similarly to Jeremy Grant, he made a big jump by moving situations, going from the Detroit Pistons, the aforementioned team, to the Houston Rockets. I think he's just been hurt too much to win the award right now. He hasn't played enough games. I think once he comes back in the second half of the season, this is going to be a super close race between the two of them. I think it will end up being one of these two. Just right now, I have to give it to Jeremy Grant. Two other guys I could give shout-outs to are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, my favorite player. He's been given the keys to the Oklahoma City franchise. He's made absolutely great use of it. He's become a great playmaker, one of the most efficient volume scorers in the entire NBA. This isn't like young scores. This is like every player. Out of every player, he's one of the most efficient guys. He's just been super, super good. I thought he should have been an all-star. He just barely missed out on that. But I think he's going to be a perennial all-star for years to come, and he's definitely proven himself to be the franchise player that we're looking for. And one more guy I'll give a shout out to is Julius Randle. I doubt he's going to get any consideration for the award just because of his 2018-19 season, which I feel like a lot of people kind of forget about with the Pelicans, where he was really, really good. He was kind of had similar numbers to what he did now. Obviously, the difference is now he's an all-star player. The Knicks have been pretty solid right now. They're firmly in the playoff picture. He's led this franchise back to playoff contention. Like I said, he's become an all-star, averaging 23.2 points per game, 11.1 rebounds, and what's probably most impressive is his 5.5 assists per game. He's been a great playmaker for them. Honestly, probably their best playmaker on that entire roster, and that is something that even with that Pelicans season, we didn't see as much because he only averaged around 3 assists. Averaging nearly 6 a game is very impressive for a guy his size, and he is the reason why the New York Knicks are finally back in playoff contention. The third award we're going to give out is another runaway. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I know I said that some were runaways and some weren't, and now we're starting off with 2 runaways. Whatever, but this is the Rookie of the Year award. We could talk about Emmanuel quickly, who was averaging about 12 points per game, 2.3 rebounds, 2.4 assists. He was an absolute steal in the draft. He's just struggling a bit shooting under 40% from the field, like a lot of young guards do. It's understandable, but he does shoot 38.1% from 3, and he has like crazy high potential as a scorer. For that Knicks team that could really use some scoring. They're pretty good defensively, but they need that scoring to take an uptick, and he's been huge in that department. We could talk about Tyrese Halliburton. He was a steal of the draft. He's performing really well with 13.2 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 5.4 assists. He just doesn't quite get the opportunities that the leader of the race gets, and that is the runaway favorite at this point, in my opinion, LaMelo Ball. He was my preseason MVP, or not MVP, good lord, he was my preseason Rookie of the Year pick because I figured that he was going to come into the league. I've been super high on him as a prospect. I thought he was just going to come in and wreck everyone, and he kind of has, averaging just under 16 points per game with 15.8, 6.3 assists, 6 rebounds, shooting about 45% from the field, 37.8% from 3 for a guy that a lot of people thought was going to be super inefficient. That's been huge for him. And since he's become a starter, which I think he is a long-term starter for this team, I think Devontae Graham is more of a 6-man type role. He's put up around 20 points per game. He's been the Hornets' second best player this season, I would say, probably just behind Terry Rozier, who's having a breakout season himself. Another guy who you could talk about in the most improved player race. It's just very crowded in there. But LaMelo Ball has really been the bright spot for this Hornets team. You could talk about Gordon Hayward being an all-star caliber player as well. But LaMelo Ball is the future of this franchise. He is going to be their franchise player, I think, when they try and make a return to being a contender of some sorts. Not that they ever really have been, but when they try and finally make that push, I think LaMelo Ball is the guy who's going to be there to do so. And he's just another piece added to a really underrated Hornets core, in my opinion, which I talk about all the time. I really like watching the Hornets play, and LaMelo Ball is a huge reason as to why the Hornets are in the playoff race. Now we're going to get into a award that I think is one of the closest ones. There are like 5 different guys that you could give this award to that I really wouldn't be mad about. This is the Coach of the Year award. I feel like I'm a little biased on this one when I went with it, but I did go with Suns head coach Monty Williams. I like the Suns a lot. I think that what they're doing is incredible, going from missing the playoffs for a decade to being pretty much contenders right now. I think you have to call them that if they're the 2 seed at the halfway point in the season. They're on an absolute tear right now. They've had injuries to Chris Paul and Devin Booker, or not necessarily injuries, but they've missed time, both of them, and they've not missed a beat. This team is on fire. They brought in a lot of new pieces. You can see how that doesn't work as well with a less so coach with Lloyd Pierce over in Atlanta. They brought in a bunch of pieces, and it's just not quite working out yet. But Monty Williams has found a way to incorporate all these pieces into this team's offense, into their defense, and into overall success for a team that, like I said, has not made the playoffs in forever. I think picking up Chris Paul was a huge addition, and while Chris Paul is going to help any team a lot, you do still need good coaching, and I think Monty Williams has done a fantastic job at that. Obviously, you could talk about the 2 coaches that have the number 1 seeds right now as well. Like I said, there are like 5 guys who you could give this award to that I would not be upset about. You could talk about Quinn Snyder. Jazz are the first in the NBA right now. They have slipped a little bit recently, but they're still holding down that 1 seed. Great defense, great offense. Quinn Snyder has everyone playing super well. I think he's probably most people's favorite for this award right now. I just give it to Monty Williams because I felt like I wanted to give him that recognition. And Doc Rivers, the Sixers are holding off the Nets for the 1 seed right in the East right now. They've been really, really good for a team that's been struggling to find a good coach for a while. They had to suffer through a lot of years of Brett Brown, who just isn't a great coach. And Doc Rivers is proving that he really wasn't the problem in Los Angeles. He's been a great coach for the Sixers. I just don't think that either of them are quite up to the success that Monty Williams has had with a team that wasn't in a great position for the longest time. Next up, we have the Executive of the Year award. It's our third to last award. We're kind of flying through these things. I think this one is, in my opinion, kind of a given. You could make a bunch of different cases, but I think the Executive of the Year has to be Sean Marks of the Brooklyn Nets. He brought in James Harden. That's really all you have to say. He pulled the trigger and he brought in James Harden. I think that alone gets him the award. You could talk about Rob Pelinka with the Lakers. He brought in a ton of talent for this team, and while they've kind of struggled a little bit, that's mainly because of Anthony Davis's injury. Before AD got injured, they were pretty firmly the 1 seed, or they were right up there. They've fallen off now with the 3 seed. That injury, like I said, has really hampered them, but bringing in guys like Montrezl Harrell, Wesley Matthews, Dennis Schroeder, all in one offseason, not even to mention Marc Gasol, another big piece for that team, and managing to retain a piece like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope definitely deserves some consideration. You could also talk about Daryl Morey for the 76ers. He really turned this team into one that had a lot of question marks, into a team that really focused on and emphasized the strengths of their superstars. You've got Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, their 2 best players, as well as Tobias Harris, who has really had kind of a, not necessarily a breakout season, but he's had a return to form. Since coming to Philly, he hasn't really been the player he was that 1 season in LA where he looked like an all-star. And now Daryl Morey has brought in players that space the floor. They emphasize these players' strengths. You could talk about a Dwight Howard being a great backup big off the bench. You could talk about Seth Curry being a great piece. Danny Green being a solid 2-way guy. You could talk about all these different things, and I think Daryl Morey deserves a lot of credit for the Sixers' success this season. Obviously, we could also talk about the play of Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. But I think the reason why these players are playing so well is because Daryl Morey shaped that team around them. And that is the difference between a really good GM and a bad GM. Is good GMs emphasize your star strengths, and bad GMs will just blow up the team. So I do want to give the award to Sean Marks, but those 2 definitely deserve a shot. Now we're getting into the last 2 awards of the video. I'm going to start off with Defensive Player of the Year. This is an award that is very, very contested. I think a lot of people have differing opinions on it. People feel very strongly about who they think should win this award right now. I've gone really back and forth. I think there are 2 candidates that, in my opinion, are like 1A and 1B, and that they're almost kind of tied right now, but of course, I had to make a decision because you can't give them co-defensive player of the years, although maybe that's something the NBA would consider at some point. A third guy I do want to talk about, though, before I talk about those 2, is Miles Turner. I think he's been a force on the defensive end, leads the NBA in blocks. He's really holding down the fort for the Pacers. I just think he's slightly behind the other 2. He doesn't affect the game quite as much as the other 2 do. And those 2 guys are Rudy Gobert and Ben Simmons. Now, before I get into my winner, like I said, these 2 guys are very, very close. I would not be surprised if either wins the award. Right now, you could talk to me for like 5 minutes, and every time I watch one of them play, I kind of think that they should win the award as opposed to the other one. It's just super close. And so my Defensive Player of the Year right now is Rudy Gobert. A lot of people are going to hate that. Rudy Gobert is a very polarizing player, but the Jazz are fourth in defensive rating. They've been a top 5 defense. They have also allowed fourth, I think, in point. They're fourth in points allowed. He's averaging 2.7 blocks a night. He's been an absolute force. Players sometimes won't even go shoot at the rim because Rudy Gobert is in there. Now I know Joel Embiid kind of just killed him, I guess you could say, the other day. But when he was guarding Joel Embiid, he held him under 50% shooting. And for a guy that has been really, really dominant, that's very difficult. I do think Rudy Gobert deserves a lot more credit than people are giving him, because while he might not seem like the most dominant player, if you just look at surface level things, if you watch the games and watch the way he rotates and makes players make different decisions based on just his presence, he's the defensive player of the year, I think, at this point for me. Now, like I said, you could talk about Ben Simmons as well. I think he's about tied with Rudy Gobert. I think he's like the 1B to Rudy Gobert's 1A. He guards every single position and is perhaps the most versatile defensive player in the NBA right now, which I think is his big claim to the Defensive Player of the Year throne. I would not be surprised if either of these guys win it. I think right now I just have to give it to Rudy Gobert from what I've watched. As a guy who watches a lot of Jazz and Sixers games, I think I'm going to give it to Rudy Gobert for now. You can hate me in the comments all you want. Let me know. Now, the last award is obviously the big one. It's the most valuable player, the MVP award, the one that everyone has been nonstop talking about because it feels like every other night some player does something amazing. So many players are having incredible seasons, career years, and that has led to a very, very contested MVP conversation. There are a bunch of different guys that you could give the award, and I'd be like, all right, I guess I see what you're saying. Obviously, I have a favorite. There's a guy who I think is leading the pack right now and should win this award if it was given out today. But there are a ton of guys I could also talk about. I am going to start with him, though. My MVP award winner right now is Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. He's having a career season. Like I said, a lot of guys are, but he has been, in just one word, dominant on in every aspect of basketball. He's averaging over 30 points per game, 11.6 rebounds, 3.3 assists. He's hyper efficient too, shooting 52.1% from the field, 41.6% from 3, and 86.5% from the free throw line, as well as playing incredible defense. Another reason why Ben Simmons might not win the Defensive Player of the Year award. But his numbers have been incredible. He has truly found the best version of himself. And I think that some of that credit does have to go to Daryl Morey, really putting a team around Joel Embiid that kind of emphasizes his strengths, like I said. You've got more shooters now with a Seth Curry and a Danny Green, and you have a better backup big in Dwight Howard who can help Joel Embiid better manage his rest. He can find better situations to play in because if it's not like right now or last season where if he wasn't on the court, they were getting killed. They finally have another competent big man. His teammates have stepped up. But Joel Embiid has, in his own right, made himself a better player. One huge thing I can talk about is the three-point shooting. He has, or even I could talk about his mid-range shooting too. Just shooting in general. If Joel Embiid shoots the basketball, I fully expect it to go in. And for a guy that is 7 feet tall, that's amazing. And for a guy who, career-wise, has shot right around 45% from the field, shooting 52.1% from the field is amazing. He has truly stepped up his game in every aspect. Like I mentioned, the shooting. A three, I feel like it's going in. Mid-ranges are basically layups for him now. And another aspect that's really improved of his game that I could talk about as just a specific thing is his ability to pass out of double teams. In the past, you had to double team Joel Embiid because obviously he's a really good player, but because a lot of times you could get a turnover out of it or just a bad pass that ended up in a missed opportunity for the Sixers. Now, though, if you double team Joel Embiid, he is either hitting a shooter and they're going to drill a three and you messed up, or he's going to score around you. Or even a third option, he's going to draw a foul on you. That's something huge that's improved for Joel Embiid as well this season, his ability to draw fouls, which a lot of people kind of underrate that, but that's a massive skill. Embiid, if you don't play perfect defense, he's going to find the smallest mistake that you make, and he's going to make you pay for it. And that's a huge part of becoming a better scorer. One of my favorite players, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, in fact, my favorite player, he has become really good at drawing fouls, and it's really elevated his offensive game. You see that here with Joel Embiid. Embiid is incredible, and if he keeps these numbers up and the Sixers maintain success, holding off what has been a very much on-fire Nets team, even without Durant playing sometimes. This Nets team keeps winning and winning and winning, and the Sixers just keep matching them. Every time they win, and they just keep going blow for blow, and the Sixers up to this point have held them off to be the 1 seed. If they continue to do that and hold the Nets off as the 1 seed, with Embiid putting up these numbers, or even just a little bit drop down numbers, I really don't see anyone other than him winning the award, and I think right now the award is his to lose. Now we could talk about the other candidates. LeBron James is a guy you have to talk about. He was my preseason MVP pick. I figured he was going to come into this season with a vengeance. He was going to play really well, and he has. Unfortunately, I think it's just the Lakers are sliding a little bit without Anthony Davis, which has kind of hurt his case a lot. But he is putting up incredible numbers: 25.8 points per game, 7.8 assists, 8 rebounds, shooting 51% from the field, 36% from three, just under 70% from the free throw line, which is pretty bad. But he's never been a great free throw shooter. LeBron James is just still, in my opinion, the best player in basketball at age 36. He's also been really locked in defensively, making the Lakers a really solid defensive team, even without Defensive Player of the Year candidate last season, Anthony Davis, a guy that a lot of people thought got robbed of the award. And even without him, this team is just really good defensively, and LeBron James has been a huge reason for that. We could talk about Damian Lillard, who's carrying the Blazers without Nurkic or McCollum. He's putting up insane numbers, continuing exactly where he left off last season. I think, like we just talked about with LeBron James, his case is just being held back due to the lack of team success. Nikola Jokic also been very dominant. He just doesn't have the team of success, but he's shooting almost 50, 40, 90 as a 7-footer. Incredible playmaker. And like I said, just like Dame, he's kind of just missing that team success. Also in that category is Stephen Curry. He's putting up numbers that are eerily similar to his unanimous MVP season, and he has easily dismissed every single narrative people had about him last season. People had the stupidest narratives about Steph Curry in the offseason. None of them were true. He's really, really good. He put an amazing performance on at the All-Star game yesterday. Really, really fun player to watch. If the Warriors can just win some more games, his case becomes a lot more serious. There's rumors that they're looking at picking up guys like Victor Oladipo, and if they're able to bring in another piece to help out Steph, that really could help his MVP case, because then maybe the Warriors could kind of, climb a little bit in the standings. That's really just the issue for him. Then two more guys I could talk about are Giannis. I don't need to tell you about Giannis. He's doing the same stuff he's been doing for the longest time. I think it's just voter fatigue, which is the reason why Giannis isn't being talked about more in the MVP conversation. Just won All-Star Game MVP, not that that matters, but it does show how good he's been this season. The Bucks are really surging. They're right behind the Nets and the Sixers for that 1 or 2 seed. And if he continues to play like that, I would not be surprised if they end up snagging one of those seeds. And if they do take that 1 seed over a Sixers team with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and a Nets team with James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and now Blake Griffin, and plus whoever else they add, because apparently they just keep adding talent, that's huge for his case. And I would not be surprised if, with those numbers he's putting up as well as his dominant defense, he doesn't at least get some consideration for the award. And then James Harden, a guy who, the reason I think he also is not getting as much discussion is because he is playing on a pretty stacked team star power wise. You could talk about Kyrie and Kevin Durant, but James Harden's probably been, at least recently, the best player on that team, with Durant missing a lot of time. Harden's kept them afloat. He's had some big wins, like he had a big win against the Phoenix Suns a couple weeks ago where he was missing Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and he led them into over a win to a Suns team that's just really, really good. We talked about Monty Williams being a great coach. He's just been fantastic for them. There's not much else I can say about James Harden. You know a lot about James Harden coming into that new situation, and he's made all those people who said that he couldn't play winning basketball kind of look like idiots. James Harden's really good. I don't know why people say you can't play winning basketball with him. And overall, I just think that this could be an incredible finish to the MVP race. All these guys, plus some more, I could also talk about, definitely making their names present in the conversation. It's going to be a really fun one to watch. But right now, out of all those guys I just talked about, the award has to go to Joel Embiid, in my opinion. He's just phenomenal. And that wraps up all my picks for the midseason awards. Like I said previously, let me know what you thought of these. Let me know who your award winners are in the comments below. This was a really fun video. Once again, I want to give a shout out to Clothes by Graham for giving me this hoodie. It's really, really comfortable. Go check out the code below. Use cone for 50% off on your purchase. Store link be down there. Yeah, so drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I will see you guys later.